Hello and welcome to the Metropolitan Elites. It's nearly there. We're nearly there. We've nearly got to the vote. We'll talk. Since the last episode, there's been 2 terrorist attacks prominently in the media. So I assume that's what we're going to talk about. Because this is our final episode before the final one, the actual vote, which we've talked about since, certainly last year.
Yeah.
And very difficult. So here's my waffle about making a decision. So what I thought Sam should do, because Sam's going to edit the video, is maybe put it at 1.25 speed or maybe 1.5 speed, but without the pitch shift. Keep the pitch the same. No, I don't want to sound ridiculous. Okay, so here we go. Crapness. The problem is that whilst our elected representatives debate and vote for proposals democratically, we have vetoes on big stuff like, say, a new member joining. The European Commission sets up the ideas and controls the agenda. So it's not democratic because of that. We have similar problems in the UK. Sir Humphrey is, we all know about the civil servants doing that, but it's nowhere near the scale, so that is a problem. It's a pile of crap and it's almost certainly doomed. The lack of argument obviously has been shocking. It's not establishment to stay in, it's not establishment to stay out, you're not fighting the establishment either way. Well, it is, it's both, unfortunately, so there is no third option, fight the establishment, unfortunately. You're agreeing with the establishment either way. The zealous way people on both sides seem oblivious to their hypocrisy is shocking. The bad behaviour on both sides, the way it's ramped up, it's been so horrible. Project Fear on both sides, is shocking, and we've now learned, in a way, MPs have been able to speak more frankly, I think. They said they've been shocked at the level of how horrible it's been. There is the thing that, we vote for people to make difficult socio-economic decisions for us, and we're not qualified to do that. And if you think you are qualified, how many arguments have you put that turn out to be just speculation or just turn out that based on lies, etc., on both sides? It turns out politicians don't have a clue either. That's the problem, really. I don't think anyone really knows what's the best, And yes, we have thought about this. We spent the last 10 months talking about this. We tried and we've read and we tried and we tried and we tried. Or don't watch the video, just give us angry comments for us to read out next week. The more angry and nonsensical the better. It's complete gibberish, brilliant, we'll read it out. Bad grammar as well, we like that. The big decision, here we go. I'm going to toss a coin. Being the Metropolitan Elites, we only have 50s, 50 pences. Because listen to our accents, we're not, it's sarcasm. Okay, so I'm going to toss, I don't know how to toss a coin, you do that, and then
pretty good at tossing coins.
Go on, you toss a coin.
Ready? Okay, so heads is...
Heads. It's heads. That means I'm going to remain. Next thing, a wishy-washy Guardian champagne socialist, Simon Jenkins, wrote an article called I Fear German Dominance. Unfortunately, basically, I'd genuinely written this before he'd written his thing had come out. So I didn't just nick his thing, but he's nicked what I was going to say, basically. Although I read the title as meaning the opposite. I Fear German Dominance. Either way, actually, so without us there, it's a German free-for-all. Apparently, what people really who are actually there say that we're quite heavy-handed and throw our weight around and all that. But then again, if we stay in, don't we give Germany a free-for-all by staying in and obliging to them? Maybe. Immigration. Probably won't have much effect on immigration, even if we get Social Conservative Party who aren't neoliberals. Who's that? Don't know, there isn't one. There's more immigration from outside the EU. So all that rhetoric of David Cameron's, we're going to limit it to this number a week, he could have, or at least he could have extended from the EU, and he did. It would be good to have directly elected people having more of a say in that, absolutely. The scare stories we've had about integration never happened, and we've had them for probably 100 years, at least. Probably before that, And as we said last week, the whole immigration thing, it's an old method by the political class to keep us plebs from blaming them. That's what it's for. There's very real danger of political turmoil when immigration doesn't change. So if we leave and immigration doesn't change, or maybe immigration does change, I would be worried what that would fuel. If some nasty opportunist will fuel a move to sort of really extreme nationalistic far-right lunacy, they'll have to start aiming at people who are already here, if they can't aim at the people who potentially can come in, Turkey are not joining, and it's not joining because it's moving towards fascism. It's not good, is it? And we have to agree to let them join. It's not a vote, we get a veto. So if Turkey did join, it's our fault because we're going to agree to it. The other thing is the ECHR. I think it will lead to exit from the ECHR as well. I think if we left the EU, then I think we're bad, and I think a lot of people don't know what it is, and I think the Tories want to do it, and I think that's a real danger. Scotland is the other thing; they'll get another referendum, almost definitely leave. They've got 95% of their constituencies. I haven't measured that exactly, but it's whatever. I think there's one Tory and one Labour and one Lib Dem, isn't there? The Tories control Scotland, so the SNP argument has been proved right. So that's a real fear. Then again, if we don't leave, that might happen anyway. The other question is, if we did vote to leave, would we really leave? Or is it just another bureaucracy moving around, rotation of bureaucracy? Remember what happened in Ireland? They just had another vote until they agreed.
Yeah.
And now the economy's come back up. They all like it again. So it will really be 2 years of faffing around But then we end up with a deal which is much the same, except we don't get a say, like Norway, etc., Switzerland. We do have some say, and like I said, there's this thing about apparently the UK and Brussels are disliked because they throw their way around. We've got vetoes, we've got representatives, it's crap and it's badly organised and it's undemocratic, etc. The problem is that our people there don't make the decisions we want them to make, and half of the representatives there don't do it at all because they're there because they don't like it, because it's mired with UKIP nonsense. What about Greenland? And we know Norway and Switzerland, it's a bit shit for them, they don't get a say and they still have to agree to all this stuff, and they get immigration say, etc. Greenland actually left. I don't know why Greenland would be in the EU in the first place, it doesn't make any sense, but I don't know anything about it, so that's interesting. What happened to them? Is it good, is it bad? The house prices thing, isn't it good for normal people if house prices go down? Isn't it? Why is it? It's only bad for rich people, and they'll be alright. Okay, they might lose some shares or something, but they're not. They can still eat, and they've still got a roof over their heads. If you only got one house, the house prices actually means nothing unless you're going to move house somewhere else, or there's inconsistency geographically. The question of over-regulation because of the EU, there's an interesting graph, and I think if it's true, it's from The Economist, so I assume it's true. It is shocking, actually. The amount of regulation we have compared to other EU countries is nothing. We're right on a limb as well. We're like one down from one above the US.
Yeah, you notice who's at the top?
Germany have the most regulation.
Most successful economy in Europe.
Yeah, but that's not making us. What says The Economist? The superstate thing, we did a whole thing on that. I don't think we're headed to becoming like the US. There is a conspiracy theory based on the quote that isn't true. It doesn't mean it's not true. The actual thing happening probably will be an erosion of our freedoms, etc., etc. And you could use the word superstate maybe, which is bad. I don't think it's possible to that extent. And that's only possible if we agree to it. We have to agree to it. It's just that whether our representative there is a git. I don't think there'll be an EU army. We've been talking about that for years and years and years. I mean, the fact that the Telegraph posted a story saying there will be, it was hidden until the next day after the referendum. The fact that they had to say that, I mean, come on. It's full of crap, it's almost certainly doomed. My guess, it's just a guess, isn't it? That if we piss off now, it'll happen again, and the same thing will happen where we're not involved and then we won't get the. It's not really a binary decision. There's two different things. Protecting us from tossers who fix the system to control the media isn't the same as protecting our control of the world through neoliberalism. That's a strange group of remainers there. This is the other thing about trust. If you don't know, we don't know what decision to make. The information we've got suggests whatever we do is bad. Both decisions are bad, unless you're a zealot. And there's lots of zealots. Everyone's very. But how do you make a decision if you don't believe? You look at the people you respect, the people to believe. Do you believe Corbyn or do you believe Boris? Do you believe Stephen Hawking or do you believe Nigel Farage? The problem with that is, of course, I'm cherry picking on. You can shoot, you can fuck anyone. But Chomsky says, stay in, with that much enthusiasm. He says stay in, which I think is huge. He's an anarcho-syndicalist. I'm a lover of massive conglomerates of states, and he says without enthusiasm, and I'm without enthusiasm not because I think it's crap. He says there's a danger of being a junior part of the US, which is interesting because obviously the US wanted to stay, but the US are more interested obviously in our influence in the biggest economic area. And the nastiest people are on the Leave side. There's nasty people on both sides, but the really horrible stuff is coming from there. It is. It's the neoliberals and the socialists and the liberals who are split. There's people in all of those groups who are one side or the other. That's a terrible way to make decisions, as we said, and as I just said, But what do you do when you don't know? I don't know. It has to have a small effect on the decision when you're on the fence. So, look at the people, what they've said. If we were in the Eurozone, it would be different. If we were in Schengen, maybe it would be different. But certainly the Eurozone, we're not, though, are we? And we're not going to join. We have the power not to join, which is a good point, So, there you go. Regardless, Brexit's going to win anyway, I think. I think so. Will it make any difference? And so ends.
Well, that's interesting, Kev. I mean, that's a very good summary of all the salient issues that have come through regarding the referendum and your sort of opinions on them. I mean, it is sort of quite depressing that you've taken the decision to remain simply because this might not happen, this probably won't happen.
Yeah.
Where's the positive argument here? Where's the sort of...
There isn't one, is there?
No.
It's not positive, it's negative. And living is negative as well as negative.
Yeah. It is a really difficult decision because people don't trust politicians, and politicians are to blame for that, because when you see a politician...
And the media. Senior politicians and the media are to blame.
Well, politicians never tell the truth. Particularly this government,
Yeah.
And the last government.
It's a mode of government now, isn't it?
It's just, I've said it before, Cameron is a liar, and he lies. Yeah, and he's been caught short on quite a few occasions.
Yeah, now politicians lie, but not so systematically and calculatedly. Just, that's what they do, that's their whole thing that they do,
Your final conclusion that Brexit will win anyway, I'm not convinced about that.
Really?
I think there's got to be a big swing to to Brexit for it to actually win, because there's going to be quite a few people who still like me, still, I don't know, get into the voting booth and just vote to remain out of the status quo.
Yeah, safe option. Yeah.
And I think that's quite a powerful force in this type of vote. I still think, because facts have been so thin on the ground. Are facts thin on the ground, or
there's plenty of facts? It's just most of them aren't true.
Yeah, because concrete evidence is so thin on the ground. You know, people are going to be going with their gut, which is actually, from the Remain's perspective, quite a good thing, because people will tend towards, you know, what they know. But it is ridiculously frustrating. You know, the Brexiteers have got a series of very simple criticisms of the EU. It's undemocratic. It's heading towards a federalised state, which will not be representative of the Britishness, if you know what I mean. We would lose our identity, which, it's a question of identity more than economics. But
our ability to make decisions.
Yeah, and you bring these up. If whatever point when you hear Remain talking about this, these points put to them, and they start talking about the economy.
Yeah, they've got an answer to it.
Well, no, you've got to sort of deal with the issues that are relevant to people, and it does look like immigration is very relevant to an awful lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's not unjustified, I mean, if immigration is having a negative impact on wages, having a negative impact on housing, having a negative impact on our services, then that is quite legitimately open for criticism.
If it is,
If it is.
Yeah.
So if people's experience of that is that that's happening, then they're right to not be very happy with the immigration situation. Yeah. What I did find interesting was there's been a bit of despondency in the media, because there are a lot of people who resign now that actually Brexit might win this, and you can sense that sort of despondency. And there was a bit of a report on Radio 4, I think it was on, it was last week, or was it this week? And they were saying, there's this thing of immigration has really taken hold, and they were interviewing people in Sunderland about why they wanted to leave. There's lots and lots of working class people in the north who wanted to leave, and it was all about immigration, and they were in areas that hadn't had a lot of immigration. And they even asked the question, have you seen much of these problems with immigration? Oh no, there's not many immigrants around here. It's down south. It's in London that's the real problem.
In which case, and you get the people complaining who are voting for UKIP and all that kind of stuff in towns where there's no they've lost their job.
Immigration is an issue.
Bad stuff's happened to them.
Yeah.
This newspaper speaks, and they think, that's the reason. That's who I can blame. Yeah.
So, our politicians, the Remain campaign led by David Cameron, hasn't sufficiently addressed the answer, hasn't come up with satisfying answers. Just trying to switch it to the economy is not an answer. I mean, people have got a genuine say in this, and they have a genuine sense that for once they can have some kind of effect on the outcome. Because normally what happens is, in a general election, and this is not a class warfare point, but basically you have two parties who are battling over the middle class.
Exactly.
Because it's the middle class that wins elections, which is why housing is so important.
Yeah.
You said houses going down isn't a problem.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the facts are. If the middle class thing, house prices going down, is a problem, then it's a big issue in the election.
Yeah.
Lots of working class voters in the north have been ignored consistently by the Westminster bubble, the elite media, and it's everyone. And suddenly they feel, actually, there's something I can vote for here which will have a material difference on my life. Yeah. It's not based on fact, it's based on a gut feeling, identity, and all sorts of things like that is all playing into this. And Remain just haven't had a strategy for it. So I think the result's going to be it's going to be closer than anyone would want.
Yeah.
I think Remain will have it, but it certainly won't put this issue to bed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And the one positive hope that you can get from it is actually people in Westminster will start addressing the concerns of ordinary working class people.
Yeah. Maybe that's wishful thinking, but yeah, if anything does, this can.
Well, yeah, because there's no way that anyone, David Cameron's government and the Labour Party, the Blairites and stuff like that. This is the worst thing, the worst possible scenario ever. Something's got to twig somewhere. Hang on, something's gone wrong. Why is this? Why are we struggling so much on something that we think is an absolute slam dunk certainty?
Yeah, and they've failed spectacularly.
Yeah. So hopefully there's going to be a little bit of reflection there, and it will finally they will start sort of taking the concerns of working class people seriously. Yeah.
Yeah. Or the problem is how they try to spin, they create their own version of that's the way they work at the moment. It's like Cameron does it, isn't it?
Yeah.
They invent a narrative and they push it into the media, and that's what working class people think. All of them.
If Cameron's still Prime Minister this time next year, regardless of the result, I'll be very surprised.
Yeah. Well, it's like the one thing he can't escape from, isn't it? He's got away with it. He's got away with massive incompetence of not doing anything.
Well, I mean, he became leader of the Conservative Party with the aim of modernising it.
Yeah.
He had Steve Hilton in there, and they were going to become all fluffy, and they were going to, become massively popular amongst everyone. And what it's turned into is a massive exercise of the tail wagging the dog. It's basically his backbenchers have controlled his government effectively. I mean, that's the decision there to remain is based on what a bunch of you have addressed all the sort of major issues, and you've sort of settled on a view, but
it's pretty arbitrary.
Yeah.
The decision is pretty arbitrary.
I have to admit, I didn't realise it. I'm not a particularly patriotic person. There are elements of the British sort of persona that we all, we cherry pick these things that I like, and I.
Yeah, look at what's happening in France.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's representing us and all that stuff.
Yeah, sort of that I like. I try and sort of amplify sort of thing. But this idea of losing the British identity to an EU sort of federalised
a big machine.
It's quite worrying actually. It just it does worry at the back of my mind, and that's probably affecting my decision processes more than anything else. Mm-hmm. All these arguments from the economic point of view, I do probably believe that there's going to be an economic downturn, an economic price to Brexit.
Yeah.
But part of that British national identity is not doing things because they're easy, it's doing things because it's the right way of doing it, yeah?
Mm.
So it's football's on at the moment, it's the not diving in a football game, getting incredibly upset when people on the football pitch cheat, because the British way is to win and win well, yeah? So when David Cameron comes out and says, it could cost us half a percentage point on GDP or whatever, so what?
It doesn't mean
we're doing the right thing. We're doing it because it's the right thing. Yeah.
It does mean things to the very well-off people. It seems that the way the well-off people are voting depends on their own financial interests. So you've got the guy from JCB. I'm sure there's a reason why leaving would help him, and you've got Goldman Sachs or whatever saying remain. I'm sure they benefit from remaining. So it's just their own financial. Whereas to us, GDP moving it doesn't really do anything. The tiny effect it would have on our lives.
Because the proceeds of economic growth isn't distributed very well.
Yeah.
It all tends to go towards the top end. All of a sudden, people at the top of in the FTSE 100 companies get a massive pay rise, and everyone else gets shat upon basically.
Yeah.
So it has been a sad, sorry state of affairs. People are genuinely tired, they're weary of the bullshit, basically.
Yeah.
And I think
it'd be so great when it's just over. And that's the thing, I almost don't care which way it's going to go.
Yeah.
Because I just want it to be just finished.
Yeah.
And it isn't, actually. It's going to carry on for years.
Yeah. I tell you what, on Peston on Sunday, Plug Peston again, I like Peston. They had John McDonnell on there, and he made his point. Now, I've been to the Jeremy Corbyn thing, I listened to it, and wasn't particularly swayed by it, but I started to think, yeah, maybe he's right, maybe he's right. And they cut over to Ruth Davidson, the saviour of the Conservatives in Scotland, yeah, who was one of the guests on there. She's on the same side as John McDonnell, and she started bleeding. You know, John McDonnell had basically offered a fig leaf out to Tony Blair, saying, look, Tony Blair was great. You know, if he'd left it at Northern Ireland and sorted that, and
absolutely.
and you know, Tony Blair's legacy would have been remembered forever. But he went too far with Iraq, because they were talking about the inquiry result. And I started to think, well, yeah, that's a good thing. You know, there's the olive branch going out to Tony Blair, trying to unify the party, and he's making fairly good points. And Ruth Davidson opens the traps and starts banging on about the IRA and stuff like that. And I thought, screw you. Why the hell do I want to vote the same side as you? Yeah. So on both sides, there are really unsavoury, horrible characters who are saying really unsavoury, horrible things about people. All Ruth Davidson had to do was keep a trap shut. Yeah. And I think, you know, Labour voters who've been watching it, who are feeling particularly world weary at the moment, would have gone, actually, maybe, let's go for it.
Yeah, it's like the boundaries of good taste, the boundaries of what's reasonable, even if you're doing a bit of ad harm. They've gone away. They can say IRA, ISIS, Hitler, all of that. You know, comes out as if it's serious.
Very strange, but yeah. So I suppose that's some. I still haven't got a decision. I'm glad you got a decision because I really don't know what I'm going to do.
No, I did make the decision. It is arbitrary, really, but I did make the decision. That decision was made last week, really. I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're going to go vote soon, aren't we? So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But shall we? Well, I think prediction. Okay, if it is Remain, Nigel Farage will phone the police. Guaranteed. It'll be a lie, cheating, and if it's Leave, we won't really leave. Or they'll drag their heels.
There's 2 years worth of
bullshitting
to go through to get out. I mean, maybe the European Union would take it seriously and say and sort of offer some real concessions.
But yeah.
So and maybe would come out to all intents and purposes. So well, basically we're out, but we're still part of the European Union.
Yeah.
Just so we don't have to have a trade agreement or something like that. I can see something like that happening.
Yeah. In which case, we're just not at the table.
Yeah.
But we're still doing the same thing.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll find out.
We will find out. Yeah. On our next video, we'll be talking about the results.
Yeah.
And how much we hate them all for doing it wrong, etc.
I'll just make a point. Yeah. The morning after the Scottish referendum, David Cameron sacrificed the victory for a political gain.
Let's see
what happens this time.
Yeah. Right, see you next week.